Will you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? And fall down in all these chords. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, all four of you. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. D'Andriano?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. Can I get a motion on the reports?
I can make a motion to approve the code compliance for June, code enforcement for June, dog control officer for May, and the ECI for May and June. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the supervisors' reports?
Make a motion to accept and approve the supervisor's reports for May 2020. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody like to make a motion on the minutes?
I will make a motion, we approve the town board meeting minutes of May 27th, 2020, June 10th, 2020, and June 24th, 2020. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think I skipped over the supervisor's report, did I not?
No.
No, I did it? All right. Would somebody like to audit the bills?
I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 12 dated June 26, 2020 in the amount of $223,006.02. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody like to take care of the budget transfers?
I will make a motion that the town board approve budget transfer request number 10, which is moving money from the contingency account to central print and mail equipment and capital outlay in the amount of $2,900. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to hold off on budget transfer number 11 for later in the meeting, and I'll make a motion that, excuse me, that the town board approve budget transfer request number 12, which is moving money from serial bonds principal, serial bonds interest expense account to bond anticipation note principal, bond anticipation note interest expense account in the amounts of $25,000 and $6,300. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sean?
There was only two budget. I know we're holding off on one. There wasn't three, right?
It was not three.
Okay. All right, so first item we have is the business automation services proposal. Our town clerk, Eileen Fitzpatrick, has been working very hard at trying to get automated systems that we've been pushing for many years in the town to be able to get things like recycling permits and other licenses from the town via the computer. And so she has researched and gotten a proposal. In reviewing the proposal, there's different components to it. One, of course, is providing the service that people can complete online. The other part is the credit card. I apologize for having my back to you.
No, that's
Is
fine.
the being able to use credit cards to charge the appropriate fee through the town. And in speaking with the town supervisor, we believe that we may want to look at the proposal and see whether we can do some of it in-house with fillable forms. But really, the component that we obviously need is the being able to move forward with the credit card approval and use through the town. That requires getting the card swiper correct.
Right.
And so, what action do we want to move forward with tonight, Rich? Would it just be authorizing the town clerk to pursue?
No, so first let me say, it's been wonderful working with the town clerk on this. She's done a tremendous amount of work in bringing this proposal to the town board. I put it on the agenda so everybody could see the proposal. Certainly we have this as one alternative to move forward. The second alternative would be just to use something like PDF forms that we could create in-house and do it online. I've been talking with the town clerk about that, and she's been working on that as well.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get, I think, and I'm speaking for you, would
No,
you like
that's,
to
no,
add
that's
anything
okay,
in?
you can speak for me. This is the system that we use, the BAS uses this system in the clerk's office, so that's why I contacted them to look into it and see what they would come up with. We worked on it together, and I guess maybe because I use this system, that I didn't think it was that difficult, but I guess it's hard to tell from a piece of paper.
Has everybody seen it?
These are the, you got it?
Yes.
And, but I think I did mention also about I had all my applications on the website, and we did it during the pandemic, you know, when we were closed and people were downloading, not the Phil, the webmaster has to help me with that, but mailing it in, and it worked well. So that was the second option, you know, and we discussed, Rich and I discussed that, so.
So again, I think where we are tonight is if everybody has had a chance to review this, you know, if you want to weigh in on, you know, any comments on this before we go, you know, off in a different direction.
Yeah.
Or whether you think maybe we should be looking at something different.
It is difficult to look on a piece of paper and
Yeah.
see a computer
How it
program.
actually
Is there any place we can go to get a sample, or
There
if
is
they have any
not
sample?
one other clerk that is doing anything like this. They're not interested. They feel it's too much.
Does the
The company-
company
I didn't
offer a, what do they call it when you put a system in like test mode? So that you
I
can-
did a tutorial with them.
Tutorial.
Yeah, and, I mean, I guess anybody we could get in touch with them and could do it, but I did with them. They walk you through it, and
They did a demo.
And it's basically just these two screens that the public would work with. The
Those
other
are-
screens would be on my end.
Yeah, if I can jump in, those are
Yeah.
basically the same screens I believe that the
That
town
I'm
clerk
using.
uses now.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to get a better feel for those,
Yeah,
visit
you
with
could
the
come
town
into
clerk
the
and take a
office
look at
and
her
I can
software.
show you.
Mhm.
So what
This
would
is
we
like a
have?
Dropbox right here, and it has a list of all of our permits. And you click onto whatever you are interested in purchasing, and
So-
you fill out the,
With the purchase price here that we're quoted,
yeah.
what would the resident have the ability to do that they don't now, just to walk
Well,
through
they
it
would be
quickly?
able to go into this system here,
Mm-hmm,
fill this out,
mm-hmm,
and then it would, they fill out all their information, pay online,
mm-hmm,
and then it would come to me,
Mhm.
and then I approve it or disapprove it,
mm-hmm.
or reject it, and I can send out a letter of why it was rejected,
Mm-hmm.
and that's basically it.
So if they were purchasing a landfill pass, how would they get the sticker for their car?
I'd have to mail it.
You would mail it?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
Because it's adhesive, and, you know,
yeah,
there's no other way to do
right.
that, unless we make a paper one, but I can't see that happening. you
So
know?
it wouldn't be much different than if we had, say you went to the town clerk's page and had links for each permit. Say you want a
Right.
recycling permit, you
Yep.
click on recycling permit, it would take you to a fillable PDF.
Fill it out.
They would, if they can fill it out and email it back, or mail it in, or
Right,
fax
they would
it
have to
in.
send proof of ID,
And-
proof of residency.
Because they would have to do that
Anyway,
anyway,
right.
right, if they did it on a
On here.
fillable on
Yep.
this.
Yep.
So that might be a cheaper option, right? And then just
Exactly.
having
Yeah.
maybe just a place where they can pay pay by credit card. Maybe we
Right.
could just look into just
We have to look into that.
that,
We've talked about that too.
yeah.
I actually got her number.
Well, the nice thing about the fillable form in-house is you can change it at any time that you decide you want to capture different information. You want to, you know, make it specific to the intended use. You have complete control over the way that you modify the system. So,
Well, I think this is the price for a whole year,
It's a.
to have
for
the
five-
ability for those who choose to go online and,
Yes, and there's a maintenance fee thereafter of $1,050.
mhm,
And that's only for 2 licenses, because we're gonna cut one out. We don't need it.
mhm,
There's only 2 of us,
mhm.
so we've been paying for a license we don't need.
I mean, I certainly think it's worth for, a year goes by fast, and it would have been helpful in the past few months. So
Do you want to,
I'm in favor of it.
do you want to try out, visit the town with the town clerk and try out the system they currently have to see from an outsider's perspective how useful it is?
Well, I actually came here tonight with the paper that I needed a permit to dispose of a television.
Okay. All right, great.
So I'll do it
we'll do a little
online.
Tutorial later on.
So I think Ben will make a motion to table this for tonight so we can get the rest of the information. Okay? So
Okay.
I'll move.
Fair enough.
All right. But thank you so much for the
Yeah.
hard work
Thank
invested in
you.
this, because you know how we've been wanting this, so I appreciate all your work, I really do.
Thank you very
Step in the right
Thank you,
direction.
absolutely, and we're getting there, and we will get there, so I do appreciate that. Okay, so the next item is the Patterson Fire Department request. Rich, do you want me to mention
Sure.
the meeting that we also had? Okay,
Yes.
all right, so first starting off with Patterson Fire Department, we met with their leadership, I believe it was last week, and it was June 29th, no, it was June 20. Anyway, we met with them to discuss a request for moving forward for the future and their needs for equipment, which is always a very large item that we look to purchase as needed. And we planned for these purchases. We set monies aside through their vehicle replacement fund. And they outlined their one specific large purchase, which is more immediate, which is a new tanker truck. And then they also spoke about replacements, things like the chief's vehicle, which gets replaced every so often, and future purchases. So essentially what we did was we talked about a change from past practice about how we fund these sorts of purchases, and we requested that the fire department go and seek out funding on their own so we know what the baseline would be for the percentage rate. And we also spoke with them about possibilities for the town bonding the purchase and getting it at a lower rate, and then leasing it back to the fire department for a obviously very nominal fee, around $1. And so there's been a variety of conversations that have occurred, but the good news is we are having these conversations about how to proceed for the future, so that it's done with input from the town board, with everybody being on the same board, and ultimately getting the best price for the taxpayers. And so we look forward to continuing that conversation. That conversation actually dovetails beautifully into the request that we have, which essentially is that they've requested to use the Patterson Rec Center on Monday, August 3rd for a general membership meeting, and they would like to use the rec center because it allows lots of space. They can spread out and still stay within the current guidelines of not having non-essential gatherings of 50 or more people. And so we do have a request from to the town to allow them to use the rec center for that meeting. So obviously we're all I think in favor of allowing that so that they can do this meeting. It's necessary for them to do the meeting so that they can have the ability to seek the membership approval for moving forward with the conversation we just had about obtaining future apparatus for the fire
I
department.
think it's also to mention it's important for them to have this meeting quickly, because I believe the pricing on the quote on their vehicle is expiring soon, so they need to move on that. That was the importance of that.
Anything I missed?
Two things. One is, I forgot to put in the memo, we're waiving the fees, any and all fees.
Yeah.
The other thing is the price was expiring June 30th, I believe, and the chief was seeking to get that price held for a 30-day period. He hasn't responded to me as to whether he's done that or not, so I don't know where we stand on
Okay.
that.
But in terms of them having their meeting, I certainly am in favor of them using the rec center. So I'll make the motion, we approve use of the rec center with a waiver of the fees for August 3rd, 2020 for the Patterson Fire Department. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So before you move on, I know there's concern within the community about everything that we've gone through for the past 3 months and making any new and big purchases at this point and maybe giving it a little bit of time. Certainly this is a conversation that's going to continue on. The fire department is pretty much already down the road as far as specifying the truck and putting it out for bid. And It's really coming down to a question of whether the town purchases the vehicle on their behalf, and at a considerable savings when you look at the financing, or whether the town's gonna purchase it or the fire department is gonna purchase it. There's gonna be more discussion on this, I know. I share everybody's concern about the uncertainty that's been thrown into our lives with COVID, especially with regards to finance, and we need to be a little bit more prudent going forward. But we also have to recognize that we are talking about a vehicle replacement schedule from the fire department with vehicles that were slated to be replaced in 2014. So, again, this conversation is going to be ongoing, I'm sure. And it's not like we're going to purchase the truck tomorrow.
Right.
But it will be happening relatively quickly if we do.
Okay.
All right.
All right, next item is, and we do this every time we have elected officials, so every time there's the need to do this, we have to file the standard workday resolution for elected and appointed officials. This is for the New York State local retirement system, and it is a form that we basically say who the elected officials are, what their standard workday is, and whether they get paid weekly, bi-weekly, etc. So I will move to approve the filing of this form, RS 2417-A. That sounds very official, but it is an official form, and have that sent out by the this gets sent by the comptroller, correct?
No, town clerk.
Town clerk, I apologize.
That's okay.
Sorry. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, with regret, I need to announce that we received a resignation from one of our court clerks, Brittany Lowe. Brittany has been with us for many, many years, and she's been very, very proficient at her job duties and working over in the court, but she is moving on to greener pastures. I will, as far as her resignation, I will table any further action on that until after executive session because we need to discuss a couple of things. That being said, we do need to find another court clerk over there. We really can't hold court with a single court clerk. It's going to be a difficult proposition, I think, to find somebody right now, but we need to at least start looking. I did contact the judges. They asked me to put together an ad soliciting for a clerk for the Justice Court. They've reviewed this and they find it acceptable. I want to put it to the board to see if there's anything you would like to edit on this.
Are we really in a rush to hire a clerk over there?
We cannot hold court with just one clerk.
Because they weren't even planning on holding court until
No,
September, October.
They're looking at sometime in August possibly starting to hold court again. But this being July 8th, August is going to come fairly quickly.
So what you're
So-
saying is it takes two clerks to hold any particular court night?
Pretty much. They want to have one in the court and one in the office taking any ticket payments that they need to have. So they really need two individuals over there.
Is there a civil service list for this position?
It's not a civil service position. We certainly could look at a clerk's list, but it is not a civil service position. Do you have concerns with getting somebody right now?
No, from what we discussed in the last couple of weeks, that it didn't seem like there was enough work over there for two people. I don't know why we were hiring one now.
Well, I believe there's more than enough work for three people over there. They're just not actually getting it done right now. But like I said, we need to have the second clerk in place and trained, because you have to remember, they can't really do anything until they've gone through a training process. And we are getting a little short on time. You know, it's unfortunate that we believe Anthony is going to be leaving us the end of the year, because that, again, plays into all this about, you know, how long this clerk is going to be with us.
Yeah, you would obviously want the next judge to be able to have a lot of input into the person that they're gonna be working with,
Correct.
so. Is it possible to have an interim person fill the role of just the court night between August and December? You know, not, what I mean is interim person, a person that already works at town hall, somebody that maybe we could train to just do that role, I wonder.
We could talk to the judges about that, certainly, but that was not what was indicated to me.
Okay.
Does it need to be a full-time position, or it could be a part-time position, since it's really just needed for the courts?
Well, I would be looking to hire, I mean, it is a full-time position now. And I would be looking to replace that individual and get them trained with the hope that if we found the right individual, as we have in the past, that any new judge coming in would accept that individual and they'd already be trained. And they'd all be ready to go.
Is this 40 hours, full-time 40 hours?
They're currently on a 35-hour work week. Remember, we set it up so they were on
Yeah,
35
and-
hours with a stipend for each court.
My only recommendation is that we would post it as full-time 35 plus hours. Or maybe because someone might be looking for a salary for equal to 40 hours, and it's probably a little less, so at 35. That's the only thing I have to add.
Pete, in one of the emails that we got from the judges, one judge expressed that they're looking to get the clearance, I guess you'd call it, from higher up in the court system, that August 1st is the date that they're gonna really start person to person and all that stuff, so I think it's worth now going out with this and let's see what happens. We can define
All this
the
is for us
starting
to
date and
approve an
everything else.
advertisement.
Well, with that
So-
being said.
Yeah, we're not hiring anybody, so we're just
Correct.
advertising.
We still have lots of discussion about
Get
this,
the
so,
conversation going.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we're
Okay.
looking for someone to start though, August 1st, I think that we probably should be closing this out, maybe only advertise for 2 weeks and see what it brings in and maybe get some.
No, I'm not trying to suggest,
Yeah, I did put a date in
Person
there.
Well, you put July 31st, so I'm saying we couldn't make a decision until after July 31st because we would be open to applicants up until
Yeah.
that date, so.
So
if
the
you
way,
wanna
the
close
way it lays out the town board meetings,
Mhm.
Putting it out for 2 weeks, it's not gonna be enough time to make a decision at the next meeting, which is why I put it back to the 31st.
Okay.
And then we make a decision in August,
Okay,
and then we start training them, and hopefully if we get them trained, and I've got some things I'm working on for getting them trained, that they would be ready to go by September 1st when the courts are ready to open.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next is.
Rich, do we have a motion on doing the advertisement or no?
We can make a motion to have the town clerk, I'll make a motion to have the town clerk, authorize the town clerk to advertise for the position of court town justice.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, next. We have a memo here from our managing lifeguard on a new policy for the beaches. In the instance where somebody is violating the COVID-19 rules that we have established, such as social distancing. First instance of breaking the COVID-19 guideline is a verbal warning. The second would be to be asked to leave the beach for a day. The third instance would put a prohibition on the beach use for 1 week. And in the fourth instance, prohibited from using beach for the remainder of the season. And they do have a form that they've also provided to track some of this. I did send them a couple of questions on this a few days ago. I haven't gotten a response. I'm okay with this procedure. I don't have a problem with it except for the last part. I have a problem with the guards making a decision to prohibit somebody from the beach for the remainder of the season. I think that needs to come from, somebody with a little bit more authority. And I hate to say myself, but either myself or the Director of Code Enforcement, one or the other.
That makes sense.
This would also
I agree.
apply to Veterans Park.
It would.
Of course, yeah. All the beaches.
The only thing I want to add is, will we get a copy anytime there was any type of either verbal or, just that we can keep track?
Incident,
Yeah, so we're on,
And
you know,
you
so it
know
doesn't just
about
come to us and now we're asking someone that they
Yeah.
can't come to the beach. So we watch it as it escalates.
Yeah, I would like to see some kind of review process, not
Mhm.
just one person saying you can't come anymore, maybe some kind of,
Right.
It's a shame that we even need to have this kind of a process, but I understand the difficult job they've been tasked with. You know,
It is.
this is going on with all areas of business and community. Everyone knows, we all see it. But we go to places and we're told, don't bother coming in unless you have a mask on, right? Stephanie and I saw that this morning at a place we were both at. And we put the mask on and we go in because we follow the rules. Sometimes there are people who just decide they don't want to follow the rules and they don't care what other people think. And I think it's terribly unfortunate we have to even come up with this kind of a thing because we've put ourselves out there, we've opened our beaches for the community to be able to enjoy. So I think we need to support the staff that are, you know, out there doing that tough job every day and know that there are, you know, repercussions to things in life. So I'm supportive of the policy, I'm disappointed that we need it, but that's the reality of life,
Unfortunately.
you know.
And Pete, I share your concerns about the review. Certainly, on the first offense, verbal warning, of the second offense, it's gonna be difficult to have any sort of a review. But when you get to the third offense, where you're actually telling somebody you're banning them from the beach for a week, is that what it says?
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, or the fourth instance, there could be something put in place. Do you have a recommendation?
No, I was just kind of agreeing with you, because I think, yeah, the first and second, that's kind of what the lifeguards' jobs are anyway, with anything, any other violation of beach rules or whatever. But when it gets to the point where you're telling people they can't go to the beach for a week or indefinitely, I think it should be a higher authority. So, you know, whether it be the code enforcement, I'd like to maybe see the code enforcement officer. I mean, that's kind of what they do, right?
Mhm.
I think the intent here is just that there's a discussion before that actual event happens, that the building inspector, code enforcement, or Rich sits down and reviews the information, talks to the person who witnessed it, and just makes sure that it's in line with the intent. And I think that's all we're talking about.
Yeah, or maybe both, maybe Rich and the code enforcement officer. So there's some kind of
Yeah.
review process
Just
where
that-
there's not just one person
Yeah.
saying you can't,
Yeah.
you know, you're kicked off for a week, or you
for-
can't come back on the beach. At least there's two people or
Yeah.
a board of people or whatever
I think
reviewing
it's
it.
okay for in the first and second instance. I think the third and the fourth should be at, definitely at a higher level. So, for one and two, there should be a referral process that comes to the supervisor, and then he makes the decision, or the code enforcement officer makes a decision as to whether or not we're going to put them on probation for a week. Just maybe, a simple phone call or a visit to the home would help.
Rich, I don't remember off the top of my head, is this something that then segues with the Park District code provisions?
Yes.
So it will come under that, so
We could use
I don't
the-
remember off the top of my head how this, failure to follow park policy, there's probably a provision in that already as to the rights of the supervisor or the town board with regard to it. I could check it and see if, I don't
It's
recall.
it's all enforceable by the code enforcement officer, which is why I threw him into the
Yep,
mix.
good, okay.
Okay.
No,
All right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You also want to maybe have a conversation with the persons, the lifeguards that are responsible for this. You should have to be very careful not to publicly humiliate anyone. So you wouldn't want them saying, well, you're on probation for a week. So you just want to make sure that they're addressed very respectfully, even though they are breaking the COVID, and I'm sure most likely not intentionally. It might be family, it could be error. But you just want to be very careful on how you approach people. And, like I said, public humiliation is
I
something
will,
we want
I
to
will,
avoid.
I will let the board know this, that, this is being driven by the fact that we have had a few issues over there
Mhm.
already. And the lifeguards have handled themselves very, very well on everything.
That's
So,
great.
We've got some very
That's good
mature
to hear.
guards.
We do.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
And would this be the head lifeguard handling that, or would it be any lifeguard?
Well, yes, it would be the head lifeguard on the beach.
Okay. We gotta support them.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the policy for the breaking of the COVID-19 guidelines as submitted with the changes as discussed here tonight. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Comcast phone service, last meeting, we had approved leaving Verizon and entering into a contract with Comcast for our phone service, with the exception of, I believe, the pump stations. Unfortunately, I learned after the fact that, well, there's a little bit of a background. We are looking to get a credit card service also over at the recycling center, so that people can just go in, if they have a refrigerator that they're coming in, they didn't get a permit, that they can get a permit right then and there and pay for it by credit card. So I did direct the Secretary of Highway to get service in there, which she did, and she did very, very quickly, and I'm very pleased with that. What I wasn't aware of was that when she did it, she entered into a 2-year contract with Verizon. So the fact that we included Verizon in with the phone lines we were switching over to Comcast, it would be impossible to, right now, to break that 2-year contract. So I'd like to make a motion that we remove the phone lines for the recycling center from the contract with Comcast. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So were we already in a contract, the recycling center with Comcast?
We already have a contract, a 2-year contract with Verizon.
So we didn't enter them into the contract with Comcast yet?
No, nor can we, because there's a 2-year contract.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was
Yeah.
saying, I know we voted last time to enter into the
Right.
agreement with Comcast. I just wanted to make sure that we're not breaking that agreement to go with.
No.
Right.
So is
No.
our intention that once the second year is up, we will move forward with Comcast, or we'll just,
Well, I imagine
So
we will
check the-
reevaluate it at that point.
Okay.
And see who's cheaper.
we'll get that on the calendar?
I'm concerned with Verizon because they're not investing anything into their infrastructure.
Mhm.
They're focusing on going wireless across the board. So, and, you know, as everybody's aware, you know, I'm anxious to see how this works out, because we have 2 or 3 phone lines here at Town Hall that are constantly crackly and not working well.
Yeah.
All right. And I will defer my executive session till the end of the meeting.
Do we need to do a vote on that, or?
Did we do a vote on that? All in
Verizon?
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the first item on my agenda is the recommendation from Russ Scoff to sell surplus equipment. Recently, a bid was put out for several items within the highway department that they needed to dispose of, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the sale of the 2006 Ford F-550 for $6,700, 2 HP printers, one from the accounting department, number P2035 for $10. The other one is P2015 for $10 as well. An assorted printer ink from the accounting department for $11, a Xerox printer from the tax collector for $10, and a Canon image runner from the rec center for $10. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on my agenda, I am thinking is a discussion on how to handle, I guess we've taken some applicants, have reserved the Veterans Memorial Park Pavilion rental. Currently, the pavilion is closed. Is that an accurate statement or
That
not?
is not an accurate statement.
No. Okay.
We actually had an event there this Saturday, July 4th, on Saturday. and it
How many
act-
people?
What'd they say? They said there was about 50 people there, I believe, and it went off very well. Everybody wore masks, and they did the social distancing, and
Okay.
so it worked out very well.
So we have a letter here from Mr. Callahan with a lot of concerns regarding the renters agreement, and we have several, like I said, activities scheduled for 30, 75, 60. Two of them in July at the end of the month with 100 people. So do we want to discuss how we want to move forward on these? Are we going to notify them on their responsibilities?
So let's start out with let's start at the beginning with where we are, right? We're in phase 4. We are currently, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like I answer these questions on a daily basis in the health department, where we're at a point where non-essential public gatherings are limited to 50 people, unless you fall into some other category of, low-risk arts and entertainment, which does a third of the outdoor capacity. So I think the conversation has to start with, would we be remiss in approving rentals that are telling us that they're going to break, or if they occurred today, because we don't know what the rules might be 3 weeks from now. And this is the problem with anyone organizing an event for August or September. We don't know what will be the rules, but we know what they are now. So I think at a minimum, we should consider notifying people that as of today, your event as you propose it is not something that falls in line with the governor's, regulations right now.
And may be subject to cancellation.
Maybe subject to cancellation or modification.
Yeah.
Hey, prepare yourself that maybe you have to you look at your guest list and bring it down to something below 50. It puts extra stress, and I think this is part of what the email we got is, it puts extra stress on the park itself because we have limited occupancy for the beach. So I think it's a balance on how we proceed to be able to allow booking of the pavilion, planning for the future, but also recognizing that we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what it's gonna look like.
Well, I would suggest that not taking any more reservations with more than 50. And like you say, notifying the ones who do have more, either modify them to 50. But I don't know if a family reunion is essential.
Well, none of them are essential. None of these are essential. That's why they're falling to the non-essential public gatherings. It's like people trying to plan weddings right now. They're trying to, and they are planning weddings for September, October, not knowing if they'll be able to have them or what the number will be. There was a lot of talk about changing that number from 50 to some greater number, but at what point? It's going to be driven by the health metrics and how we continue to do. And I think the concern is that some of these parties could jeopardize some of that, like any other function. So
I agree.
I think that's the difficult.
I think there's two parts to this. I mean, I think that, we need to do our due diligence and make sure that everybody is following the rules and being as safe as they possibly can. And in that regard, we need to develop a second form, which I can do in short order, and get all the people who are gonna rent the park to sign off that, here are the rules, here's the current limit. As you said, today is 50.
But we don't know what tomorrow will be.
I mean, 2 weeks ago it was 25.
Right.
Today is 50. What's it gonna be in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
We don't know. But to acknowledge, what the current rules are, to acknowledge that their party will follow the rules, that they will assume any risk, and I will run it past Don to make sure it's done right. But also, one more thing I would like to throw in there is statement by the people who are responsible for the function that none of the guests will be from any of the restricted states.
Yeah, that's very
That's fair. Sean, question.
Yeah.
I know we're going into phase 4.
We are in phase 4.
We're in phase 4.
Yeah.
There really is no other phase, right? So when does phase 4 end, and what does that look? They really haven't really gone that
Great
far, right? I
question.
mean, they gave us phase 4, and then now what?
Yeah.
Is it 2 weeks like all the other phases were going? After that, then what happens? It's tough right now because we're right on that. Who knows?
It's subject to new executive orders, is what it is.
exactly correct.
So I think that's fair, so right, as of now, it's 50 people, it could
Yeah.
change, they just need to be aware of that, you know?
Has the applicant for the car show reached out?
The car show is canceled.
Oh, okay.
That was the one with 800,
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
which is, funny to me because the car show is very spread out.
Yeah,
And even though they have a great attendance, that's something that you really can do that social distancing in with masks.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's one that would have been an interesting one to get a opinion but from the Empire State Development on, because low-risk outdoor arts and entertainment uses the example of botanical gardens, agritourism, zoos, places where people are not congregating in one place to look at something, but they're walking through exhibits. Boy, a car show sure sounds more like an exhibit than
Gathering.
Yep.
you know,
Gather, yeah.
a sports event where people are congregating to watch or something like that. It's very difficult, and I think that's been the frustration through this, that it's hard because you can never think of, when you create rules, you never think of every situation. And so I think at all steps, we've been asked, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, we have to use a little bit of good judgment and sometimes ask people that are being tasked with the authority to make these decisions for an opinion. And sometimes you don't get those opinions. You ask, but you may not get it, or may not get it in a timely manner. So this is ever evolving. I absolutely agree with what Rich said, that we need to let people know, here's what it is today, but we don't know what it'll be when your event occurs. But you need to take some personal responsibility for following the rules in place at the time. We just don't want to put too much pressure on the staff, and I think that's part and parcel of the email from Brian Callahan is what's the responsibility or the onus on the park board, on the staff, on our caretaker,
Yep.
to have to police this sort of thing. We say, hey, for instance, we having a party, I'm just making this up now, next weekend, and the people say, yeah, I understand that we can only have 50, and 100 people show up. They may still follow all the rules. Does that make it right, and does that increase our risk? I don't know, but at least we're having this conversation, and we can try to support the people that are faced, that are the boots on the ground, just like we're talking about with the lifeguards. It's no different.
So Rich, either your office or Eileen's office will reach out to these people who are over the 50 number and
I'll write up a form tomorrow, run it past Don.
I think to everyone, regardless of what numbers have been put down on the permit application.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone to whom a permit's been issued should be notified of the Phase 4 requirements.
Yeah.
And more in a directive, I think, than asking them to sign off on them, but supplemented by them
An acknowledgement.
acknowledging that these rules are going to be enforced. It's a rock and a hard spot. I think it behooves us as a town to put an enforcement process in place. And like many of the park events, the park caretaker is the point person, and if people start objecting, then there has to be a resort to a higher authority again, and be able to call in the police to enforce. And I think letting people know that it will be enforced and that it's not just going to be, we got a permit and nobody's going to care is the really important jumping off point, because they'll have notice. And we'll couch it in terms of, while a permit has been issued to you, that permit does not give you a right to avoid having to comply with the current rules. So we'll work on something, Rich.
Rich, can I just ask a question? In the email, Brian mentions the limitation on the use of the park that currently is in place. He mentions it as a 37 person limit.
I've corrected him on
Oh,
that.
okay. Because was he basing that on the capacity of the beach?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought. That's obviously clearly different than the whole use of the entire park.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So you don't need any movement on that, right?
I don't believe we do. Peter?
Okay, first item on my agenda is town planner. So, as we all know, our town supervisor has been acting as town planner since he started, because he was originally the town planner. And we've been, in the last few years, been trying to figure out ways how we can transition into taking those responsibilities away from him and freeing him up to do his supervisor responsibilities. So we this at the beginning of this year, before the pandemic, we just got a little more active on looking for a town planner to hire. So our supervisor has acquired some resumes from people who are interested in another planner position. So these are people that are in a pool of, in a planner pool. So we've had some discussion, though, in the last couple meetings on how we proceed on hiring the planner, or going through the resumes, or maybe even searching, maybe throwing out a wider net to get some other applicants. I would suggest, I know we do have a pool of people, but they were kind of more specific for another position. I would like to see some advertisement, maybe for planners interested in a municipal planning position or working for a municipality. I think the other ones were really from people who apply to a nonprofit. So there might be, maybe there's some differences on who would apply to a municipal job. So maybe we could, I think there's a couple things in here, how we would search for this person and who would be doing. We've had some discussion. Mary had some good ideas of maybe forming some kind of a hiring committee or advisory committee to kind of go through, because even the resumes that Rich had given us, there's many resumes, many different people from all around, not even just the area. There were some from out of state. It's just it's a big process to go through to vet out the applicants and to before you can even start interviewing. And then I would also like to see Mary's idea, maybe form some kind of a committee. So I guess who would be on that committee also. So what was everybody else's thoughts?
I would suggest, I have no trouble with your idea about if you wanted to advertise again, to focus on municipal. But I would, before we do that, I think the town board could get together one night next week, go through the resumes that we have, and just see, maybe there's somebody in there that would suit us. And then, if necessary, advertise. But I think, we could come in at 5 o'clock, and have a little work session and go through it. Just the review of the resumes, and go from there.
My only concern would be if we kind of went through that pile and said, okay, well, this is probably the best one out of this pile, we wouldn't know if there's a better person out there from casting a wider net. Or we don't even know, we could be going through these resumes and we don't even know if these people would be interested in this job.
Yeah, true.
Right,
Because they did
also-
apply for another job, so we're wasting our time, going through all these resumes and.
Yeah, I think that you have a point. These, we just have resumes from a non-posting, right? Rich?
We have resumes. The East of Hudson Watershed Corporation was
Did they-
looking for a watershed planner. They have not
Oh,
moved on
okay.
any of these people.
Okay,
Being as I'm president of the corporation, I was privy to all the
Okay.
resumes.
so it wasn't specific for us?
No, it was not specific for a municipal planner, which, again, I've mentioned to some of you my concerns that the resumes we've got were either engineers, and I don't know why they would be submitting for a watershed planner position, or people with a strong environmental background, but not necessarily a municipal background.
Yeah.
So I guess the question really comes down to whether or not, Rich, you believe that by creating a distinct and specific advertisement for the position that we're envisioning, would we get a different group of people than what we currently got? We may get some of the same people because they are looking for a job, quite honestly. And, sometimes the problem with advertising is we get way too many applications, especially with some, people just apply to everything. We have people that applied from all over the United States for that position.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I'd like to have somebody from the Hudson Valley who understands our unique, the issues that we have going on in Patterson and in the Hudson Valley. So I'd also like to hire locally from, our own community if possible.
I think that would be the job of, if we had a committee to kind of vet through those. I've been on hiring committees where each person on the committee picked their top 5 applications, and then you average those out, and you're looking at maybe 10, 15 applications, and then that committee goes through those.
Yeah.
So I guess the question, though, again, is, do you think we have a candidate within the current list of resumes that we absolutely want to interview right away? Or if not, then do we want to come up with an individualized, advertisement that says, hey, here's exactly what we're looking for?
So before we even go there, I also gave everybody tonight a list of the things that I've been doing as town planner for a number of years. And the first question is, are you looking for a person to fulfill those functions, or are you redefining the scope of the individual? And that, I think, is a conversation that we might want to have in a work session while we go through some of the resumes and take a look at, each individual's qualifications to say, hey, this would really benefit the town, or this wouldn't. And in doing that exercise, it would help me come up with an advertisement.
Makes sense.
I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what you've done over the years with and Charlie probably as well, with our involvement with planning board and just discussing all the various challenges that we faced in the town. But there may very well be a number of things you've done as planner that are that I wouldn't expect an entry-level person to be necessarily able to do. I've said all along, I see this position as a starting point for a much bigger position in the town, and what I really want to do is be able to utilize a couple of years of Rich's mentoring for this person to be able to, who better to train someone on the code than the person that wrote the code? Who better to mentor someone than someone that's been the town planner for the last 20-something years, in addition to being the town supervisor. So I don't want to miss out on that opportunity. And I think it's a great opportunity we have to have that next person that can take the town of Patterson, and take that position and run with it and be in charge of that department, not now, but maybe 3 to 5 years from now. So I don't want us to miss out on an opportunity, but I think it's a great idea to narrow down what we're looking for.
Yeah, well, I think that, what we have here are people who did not apply for this job, and we
Right.
might call them, and they might say, I didn't apply for the position, I'm not interested, I'm already working. So
Sure.
I think that we might be exhausting our time with this. I think that we need to get the posting out, or the,
Okay. So maybe
the
we
job
need to have a
description
meeting
out
to,
on what we're looking for, and then run it and take it from there.
So just to clarify, we'll try to meet in the next week or so and discuss exactly what we're going to be advertising for. And because I know Rich is, when he was the planner, he kind of did above and beyond what a planner does anyway. So I
we
wouldn't.
can't ask of any one individual to do everything that Rich did prior to being supervisor.
And to Sean's point, we really got, like, envisioning an entry-level person that's just gonna focus on that planning, and maybe you can give them some stuff here and there. They will be a full-time employee. Planning jobs, some of which Rich did kind of overlap. He oversaw construction of town buildings and stuff like that. I don't know if that would be necessarily the planner's job, but, there's stuff they could probably do. So I think so, yeah, the first step would probably be, let's get together and figure out what we would advertise for and what the job description would be, and then figure out how
Chief
we're
bottle
gonna.
washer, right? Is that what it's called?
Chief bottle
bottle
washer,
washer.
So we could
Other
discuss,
related duties.
we could discuss a date and time in the executive session or by email.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
Good.
okay. Anything else?
Yeah, how about next Wednesday night?
Let's, I have to look at my schedule. I
Okay.
can't give you
All right, I put you on the spot. All right,
Okay, next item I have is the Putnam Lake Dam, the engineer's opinion. So instead of me fumbling through this, I don't know how many pages this
I
is
don't
or
think
whatever.
you would fumble through it.
But I think we should have our supervisor slash planner give a synopsis of the opinion.
Engineer.
So essentially, we have some issues with the Putnam Lake Dam. The DEC has identified certain deficiencies. They've been on the town for many years to correct those deficiencies. It's really starting to come to a head. We put out an RFP seeking an engineering firm to take a look at the deficiencies in the dam and the letters that we'd received from DEC and come up with or try to address them. We ended up selecting, God, what's Mike's last name?
Schnabel.
No, it's not Schnabel.
That's the company.
Taylor, Mike Taylor, thank you.
Mike Taylor.
Mike Taylor with Schnabel Engineering, who unfortunately got delayed in doing this because of COVID, as so many of our projects did, but has now come back. He's reviewed all the documents, and he's made basically 4 recommendations to correct deficiencies. And they include the hydraulic analysis of the Bog Brook downstream of Putnam Lake Dam, hydraulic analysis of the Putnam Lake Dam watershed for both the 150-year event and the 50% probable maximum frequency storm. And there's a couple of other engineering firms in here. The one thing he didn't put in here, which they identified, was the fact that we had hired a prior engineer, and we've kind of known this for a while, to do the dam evaluation. And that dam evaluation never had an engineer seal on it, was never really finished up, which is one of the things the DEC has identified. And the town is required to, again, do that engineering analysis every so many years. It's coming due again, I think December of 2022. Yeah, 2022. So we're gonna need to do some of this work anyway as a precursor for doing that engineering analysis. But I wanted the board, this has been a long time coming, and we just got this in. I wanted to put it on the agenda. I wanted to make sure the board had it. And if you have any questions, either I will try to field them, or we could set up a meeting with the engineer to field them. I did send an email back to the engineer that looking for pricing on the 4 recommendations, so we had an idea where to go. I was hoping to have that for the board tonight, but he did not respond as of yet.
Rich, the only question I have is, and something that I found very interesting was one of their recommendations about spending some time looking at the way that the hazard classification of the dam, that's a Class C, right?
It is a
high.
Class C. It's a Class C because of the regulations say that, if you've got a breach of the dam and there's potential loss of property or life downstream, then, it's gonna be a Class C. It's a conversation that I think we need to have with him. They wanna spend a little bit of time maybe reevaluating the classification of the dam based on the amount of water we're holding back and the downstream. There is no way that the DEC is not gonna consider this a Class C dam. So I would probably, we need to have the conversation. I need to understand a little bit more, certainly, but I would probably be steering him away from spending any sort of time or money on reclassifying the dam.
Okay.
I think it'd be just a waste of time.
Rich, what we authorized dollar-wise to get this report includes a meeting with Mr. Taylor, right?
It included the potential of a meeting. It also it included a letter back to the DEC, letting the DEC know what our plan of action was gonna be.
Okay.
So he's not done.
I would agree, let's have him in and talk, because there's numerous items in this report that I think we need to talk about, so I'll leave it at that.
Anything in particular?
Well, I think it's kind of interesting that we've already had 2 reports, and he comes back and says neither one of those reports are valid, if that's a word.
Well, you said that the Stantec report on the inundation study was valid for the most part. The 2 he said was he didn't like the emergency action plan that we had for the dam, and he didn't like the
Mazer,
engineering evaluation, yeah,
right,
yeah.
yeah, so,
But the emergency action plan was put together by me, so.
all right, let's have him in, sooner the better. And what, after the meeting with him, then he would send a letter to DEC, right?
Well, then he would come back to the board with a plan of action based on our conversation and whatever decision we made.
Okay.
Everybody else, you?
Okay.
Okay, you want him in, I take it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll find out what his schedule is.
Okay. I just had a couple more things to add. First of all, I want to just point out our sign in front of the town hall. Councilwoman Smith had come up with a great idea a few months ago when the pandemic started to thank certain people, thank our workers, our sanitation workers, our highway workers, our essential workers. We've been changing it every week or so. And last week, I requested us to change it to thank you, law enforcement, for all you do, because law enforcement all around the country has been under attack and under a lot of pressure. And I thought it'd be nice that we, as a town, show our support for law enforcement, since not only the law enforcement that protect us every day, but also the many men and women that live in our town, active and retired, that are in this town. So it's gotten a lot of support. A lot of people around the town support it. I haven't seen anything negative. I just wanted to publicly bring that up and publicly thank our law enforcement officers that do protect us and patrol our neighborhoods, and also the ones that live up here and are here for us. We're here for you.
Thank you.
Here, here.
I also wanted to bring up the other day, what was it, yesterday, 2 days ago, with the little free library. So we had the dedication of the little free library in front of the rec center, and then one over at Club Court Park. So I want to publicly thank Lorraine Major and Bruce and his family for putting these little free libraries up. They're great. They're in great locations, right in front of the rec center. There's right at the little patio with the dedicated bench to Justin. There's a little library, and it looks like the Little Red Schoolhouse, which is right around the corner. So it's a great opportunity for children to take a book, to put in a book, to just sit there and read a book on the beautiful bench or in Club Court Park. So I just want to thank Bruce and his wife Lorraine, and the Patterson Rotary as well, and also the Patterson Library with support. Along with Matt Chabarro from the Rec Center, we were all at the dedication, as well as myself and Supervisor Williams and Councilman Cook. So I just want to thank you guys. I think it's a great idea. It's a great opportunity to promote reading and community. So thank you. That's all I have.
Charles?
Next, we have recreation requests. We have a memo from Cassidy Speller relative to hiring a new lifeguard, recommending the hiring of a new lifeguard, Jill Leahy. She has over 3 years of lifeguarding experience, including 2 summers working at Putnam Lake. So I will make a recommendation that the town board hire Jill Leahy as a junior guard 3 with an hourly rate of $11 an hour. And her hiring would take effect when all of her paperwork is into Town Hall. So I'll make a recommendation that we hire Jill Leahy based on Cassidy Speller's memo of July 2nd, 2020. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a memo from Matt Chabarro concerning what he says summer programs, and it's really summer classes that they would be holding. It's arts and crafts, little cooks, fun with science, and outdoor adventure. They would be for an hour and 15 minutes, and they would meet 4 times each. Like arts and crafts would meet Tuesday, say at 9 o'clock. Little Cooks would meet Tuesday also at, say 11 o'clock. And then Fun with Science would meet Wednesday early, and Outdoor Adventure would be Thursday. They would meet 1 time per week for the 4 weeks. Adriana, who's been working at the rec over the summers for a while now, she would oversee the classes, and that, along with one, maybe 2 junior, senior staff members at the rec. So it looks like an exciting program, classes that we can offer with all this COVID-19 business. Classes held outside as much as possible. And Matt was also looking into getting a tent, seeing how that would help us. So, without further ado, I will make a motion that the town board approve the Recreation Department summer classes as outlined in Matt Chabarro's letter of July 7th, 2020. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have the Veterans Memorial Park Board. Has been a member on the board who has been a no-show for a while now, having nothing to do with COVID-19 as far as I know, what we know. And so we will be contacting that person to resign from the board, or the town board then has to take an action to remove him from that board.
Him or her.
What's that?
Him or her.
Him
Not
or her.
identifying the person.
But we would have to hold a public hearing. So,
Well, Don, do you want to weigh in on this? Because my impression was we needed to have a public hearing. I had said that previously because in most instances, when you're removing a board member, my understanding is you need to have a public hearing. But Don, if you want to,
There's no requirement in the town code for it. The park district rules and regs in the code outline instances where the town board can remove a member of the board for cause, but no public hearing requirement that we're aware of.
okay.
So in other words, these members of these committees are appointed, they serve at the leisure of the town board.
Yeah.
And
They,
so.
they do, but the code does go a little bit past serving at the pleasure of the town board in that it does require that the termination would be for cause.
Yes.
But a public hearing on the issue is not required.
necessary.
And I think that the tack that is being taken is a fair one. In other words, notifying the member of concerns, affording the opportunity to reply, and then after that, the board can take action.
Okay.
so I will be sending him the letter,
Not saying anything about the public hearing.
taking the section on the public hearing out, asking him to respond by the next town board meeting.
Or her.
Or her.
Sorry,
Had to start that.
I apologize.
Do we have to limit it to him or her? Isn't there a third now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All pronouns are gender neutral here in the town
Yeah.
board. Okay.
Okay,
That's it.
so I guess we're all set then.
Yep.
Board's comfortable with me doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Rich, I'm sorry, excuse me for, I missed that we had a resolution on the sale of the items and I didn't, so do you want me to just formally enter that resolution?
Do I have a second?
I approve the sale?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Okay. You have something you wanted to add? I know you like talking in the mic. Okay. All right. Other business, any town board member have any other business they wish to bring up at this time?
Just announcements.
You got one you want to do?
Sure, I have one in front of me, I'm happy to.
You got three of them.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah.
So the Putnam County Health Department will be sponsoring a free rabies vaccination clinic. This is coming up here pretty quickly on Saturday, July 25th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Veterans Memorial Park. This is where every year we hold the 4-H fair, or normally hold the 4-H fair. It's a different location than normal because with COVID there are, it necessitates using sites that maybe we don't normally use. So this will be again Saturday, July 25th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Upper Park. You can bring your dogs, cats, and ferrets for a free rabies vaccination. Of course, dogs must be leashed, cats and ferrets must be in carriers, and you need to bring proof that you are a Putnam County resident and also proof of prior rabies vaccination. That's the actual certificate, not the tags that they wear. And so I know Paul always likes to do this. Very good. Thanks so much.
Okay. Anyone else? Am I up? All right. The Brewster Central School District Board of Education has announced that they are seeking two, not one, but two qualified individuals to fill the position of trustee on the Board of Education. They are looking for statements of interest to be submitted to the Board of Education by July 15th, 2020. So if anybody would like to get more involved in your community and more specifically your school district, and you live in the Brewster School District area, please feel free to submit your letter of interest.
And you cannot work for the Brewster School District to be qualified for that position.
That's a shame, because I would love to see you on that board. I really would.
Can't hold two elected positions, right?
Yeah, and,
All right, the second notice is a little bit more somber. We received today from the Putnam County Health Department a health alert. I'm going to read this in its entirety. If you worked at or visited Tops Friendly Markets in Carmel, New York on July 2nd from 5:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. or July 5th from 5:30 a.m. to 8 a.m., you may have been exposed to COVID-19. Please watch for symptoms of COVID-19, which include fever, chills, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headaches, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion, runny nose, nausea or vomiting or diarrhea. Please contact your physician with any concerns. Please visit the Putnam County website for testing information at www.putnamcountyny.com/health/coronavirus, or call the Putnam County Health Department at 845-808-1390. I'm going to read those dates again. July 2nd from 5:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and July 5th from 5:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that is it. Public recognition. Does any member of the public wish to be recognized and address any issue before the board? Hearing none, can I get a motion to go
Motion to
into?
go in executive session?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Be safe, everyone.